what people are doing, they're just reacting to life instead of planning out their life. I encourage people to think about your thinking. Why are you even thinking about that? What are you thinking about? And learn how to step outside of yourself and say to yourself, would you want to be bothered with somebody like you? Would you be a friend to somebody like you? Would the person like you annoy you? Somebody sold us something that we ate and believed. You can change like that. You can actually change because you're in control of your mind and your thinking and your brain.
Meet Hannah. I miss you, Mom. The words land heavier than she expects. Her 7-year-old is sitting on the kitchen counter, legs dangling, homework untouched. Hannah still has her keys in her hand. Laptop bag is falling off her shoulder. She looks at her son and says, I miss you too, sweetheart. But her heart drops to her stomach and she thinks, but I was just home yesterday. Hannah is a single mom with 2 boys aged 7 and 4. She's very driven. She's very ambitious. During the day, she's an operations manager for a large retail company. And she has a passion for wanting to get to the next level. But the demand never stops. Every day, meetings, fire drills, so much pressure. Her workouts that she used to rely on to keep her grounded have vanished. She eats on the go. She doesn't get enough hours of sleep. And for her, she wants to get promoted. But despite having performance reviews that are always incredibly positive, they keep overlooking her. And she's starting to wonder if they just don't think she's the right person for that next level position. The doubt is creeping in. So what does she do? She works harder. And then when she goes home, she tries to be present, but her mind is racing, thinking about work. And she feels guilty. She wants to be able to lead others through promotion. She wants to be able to do this all sustainably, but it is affecting her home life. She's not the kind of person who's going to quit her job. She loves to work. But what she really wants to do is to do all of this in a way where she can show her 2 sons that you can build a successful career without having to sacrifice your happiness. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Lawana Gladney, or Dr. G, a success psychologist, an expert in leadership performance, who helps leaders to change behaviors that lead to burnout, stalled growth, and disengagement. I'm really excited to hear how Dr. G would help someone like Hannah, someone who has a ton of drive, a ton of ambition, to be able to succeed, to be able to get to the next level in her career without having to sacrifice herself or her family in the process. My name is Jay Abbasi, and welcome to Unstuck. Real people, real stories, real solutions. While the details are changed to protect anonymity, what you just heard is based on a true story of challenges that come up in the real world. And we discuss how to navigate these environments with practical tips to help you get unstuck and build a more fulfilling, impactful, and balanced life and career. Dr. G,
Hey.
you have, I think, a great deal of courage from what I read about your story on your website. You were very vulnerable about some of what you've had to work through in your own life, some of the loss that you experienced and how that's transformed you. And I would love to start there and for you to tell us that story and how it changed you.
Okay. So I've experienced loss so much like most of us. in the way we all have experienced some type of loss, but mine started very early on in my 20s, when I was first married and was wanting to start the family and all of that. And so I got pregnant. We went through infertility. I'll just be really real because these are people's stories and people don't really talk about it a lot. Went through some infertility, was able to conceive, and then I had a miscarriage. But found out through the miscarriage that I was actually carrying triplets. So I miscarried one, and then went on to carry the other two and had them at the 27 weeks. And so had a boy and a girl, son and a daughter. My daughter was 1 pound and 9 ounces, and my son was 2 pounds and 2 ounces. And my daughter was born with a heart defect called tetralogy low, which Jimmy Kimmel's son was born with that. He was the only other person that I knew had the same kind of disease that my defect that my daughter had. My son lived for a day and a half, but he was healthy. But his death was caused by accident at the hospital. And my daughter lived for 3.5 months. But because she didn't have an aorta, her blood and oxygen could not exchange, so she could not grow. So
Mm.
I had 3 losses before I turned 30, which nobody prepares you for any of that. How it changes you, you don't even realize because life just moves quickly, and then all of a sudden it stops. And it changed me profoundly because how I was raised and my spiritual religious beliefs, they didn't align with what happened. So that caused disequilibrium that I can't even begin to explain to you to what level. And so I was Miss Sunshine, I was Miss Everything, Miss Optimistic, and then I became this very reserved, skeptical, not having very much hope and belief. So I had to go through a whole lot even our marriage had to go through a whole lot to sustain something that horrific. And then, to begin to say, let me do this, let's try this again, but that set up a whole nother thing in motion. And so, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. That kind of was the foundation to who I morphed into a whole different person, which of course wasn't so great for the marriage because now I wasn't the person that he married. But, we were able to sustain, went on, have 4 beautiful, wonderful children. They're all grown. They're all grown now. But yeah, that was the beginning of tremendous, tremendous loss. So what that does, Jay, it leaves you open and vulnerable to knowing that the things that happen to other people can happen to you. So I walk around still yet believing and knowing that whatever accidents, horrific diseases, things that happen to other people that you go, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for them. I also know that they can just as easily happen to me. And I walk and live in that. And most people don't. That's not even something people think about because it's always the other person. So until something happens to you, then you know that that could be me. Whatever
Yeah.
the
Well,
situation. So, yes, it changed me, in many ways, and actually, it it allows me to do what I do in a
yeah.
way that I wouldn't have been able to do it had that not been my foundation to where I am today. We did go
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
thank you for sharing that, Dr. G, because I very much relate to an experience of loss, sudden, unexpected, with the loss of my father,
Mhm,
and this was in my 20s,
mhm.
that I often point to as the change that led to everything transforming in my life, from the way I thought, the way I behaved, the way I lived. And I guess, how did that inspire you to then do this work you do now and helping people to have better emotional well-being, to be better leaders, to be more resilient? How did all that experience lead to you doing the work you do today?
That's a good question, Jay, because really at the time, I didn't know that it was going to inspire me. I can really say because when we deal with pain, there are three ways generally that we deal with pain. You can either bury the pain, you find some type of way, and usually it manifests in some type of addiction, or you work through it, meaning that you bury yourself in work because when you don't want to confront the pain, it goes somewhere. A lot of times people will bury it and think that they're okay. Other people do find some type of addiction. I mean, it doesn't have to be drugs. It could be food. It could be shopping. It could be anything. We always think of addiction as being something, the most horrible things, but it's like people just eating, sweets. I mean, whatever it is. But I bury
Looking at their cell phones.
the cell phones. I mean, the addiction to social media. I mean, you're going to find something. Well, mine was work. And that's when I actually went back and got my master's and my doctorate. I had a nonprofit. So I kind of dove into stuff. And because I went back to school is what put me back on this track to go back and get my master's and my PhD and all of that and really have an understanding in a completely different way. Would I have done that? I don't think so. I don't know. That wasn't on my goal list. It wasn't a part of everything. But when that happened, it was okay, this is where we need to go. So I buried myself into work and then becoming at higher levels and understanding human nature and people and our emotions because at the rawest of the raw emotion, they say that's one of the worst things that can happen when you disrupt the cycle of life and you bury a child. We know that eventually we're burying parents and all of the people that are older, but when that is the reverse, that is nothing that you ever can plan for, think about. And so the rawest of emotions come and it puts you in a whole different place of life. So with all of that I've been able to capsulate all of that into how I do the work that I have done, the people that I have touched, and it put me in a space of determination to help other people to get through whatever it is that they're going through and be able to not be stuck.
Yeah, well, Dr. G, the way you described that got me curious in regards to addictions, which is, are some addictions when there's something that it's not like harmful to the body? For example, like you buried yourself in this work and learning and it produced a positive outcome. When you hear addiction, right, you think that's bad, it's negative. Are there such things as healthy addictions? You got me curious by what you just said.
Well, so the word addiction alone, it leads for a negative connotation. I don't think that anything that you feel like you can't live without, because then I had to learn how to balance. I had to balance that. I had to balance the work. And then with the people that are addicted to their work, that's all they do. And it's just, oh my gosh, goodness. So there's no really good addiction. You want to have the balance there. So even if you have people that are addicted to their kids, people that are I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's never good because when you feel like you can't live without something, then that's not a good thing. You have to be able to say, okay, this work is going to go here. And then this is going to be there because you hear people, that are just, that's all they live for is work. And then they're miserable. They're miserable. So if you don't have the balance in your life, then you're not going to be happy and have the best life that you can. So no healthy addictions.
Yeah, I'm so glad I asked you about this because how I would reference that, it would be when there's an attachment to something that's an addiction, right? Meaning I need this in order to be okay, or even that's part of my identity. It's part of who I think I am. So if I lose this, then my self-worth is gone, right? Who I am is gone. Instead, you use the word determination or ambition or passion for something. That's okay. But when there's an attachment, an addiction involved, that's when it can become harmful.
Yes, that's when it's harmful because then you, like you said, your identity is attached to it and you feel like that you can't move through life without whatever this is. And when I mentioned that, we do become addicted to people. We become addicted to people because there are people that feel like I can't function or move or breathe if my kids grow older, if I lose this relationship, or if this happens, or, even in, I've lost a parent as well. Even in the loss of parents, I see a lot of people get stuck. They get stuck in this space. And I'm like, this is not the intention that you cannot function without this person. A lot of relationships do that when they've been married 50, 60 years. This one will pass away and that one will pass away. People say you die of a broken heart, but it feels like I can't function without that person, or I don't want to function without them. Then that becomes unhealthy because you want to be able to be independent of things and people so that you yourself can function and prosper. You understand?
Well said. Well said. And that's easier said than done, of course.
It is. It is.
Because it is a natural tendency to have that attachment, that identification. How does one do that? How does one get out of those addictions, out of those attachments, be able to still love people and connect with people while maintaining independence?
Yes. Well, great question. Let me tell you, it requires what a lot of people don't do or don't know how to do. And that is the self-reflection, the self-inventory. We take inventory of everything else. We balance our budgets, we balance checkbooks, we balance what we eat, but we don't really take a look in balancing ourselves and our emotions and really understanding who we are and what it is that we need. What do I need in my life at this time? Generally, we feel like that's gotten from a person or a thing. We all need validation. There are like 6 things, and I talk about it in my book, If You're in the Driver's Seat, Why Are You Lost? It's a roadmap to an amazing life. And I talk about how there are 6 things that humans need, and one of them is validation. So we do need validation. We need love. We need to be heard. We need to be seen. We need to be missed. It's certain things of human nature that we need. And we seek that from people or things. So the type of job you may have may validate who you are and how smart you are or whatever. The people that you attract into your life, they're feeling some type of void. When you can, so understand those are human needs, but what happens is we feel like all of that is coming from somebody else when I can validate myself, but I have to feel good about who I am and I have to know who I am. So it all starts there. Who are you at this particular time in your life? Do you know, Jay, we change. We're constantly changing, even though it seems like some people have not changed and they're stuck in how they used to be. We are constantly changing our thoughts, our ideas, our likes, our dislikes, all of that. So I encourage people to really see who you are at this age in your life. Because what you used to like, you didn't, or the things that didn't annoy you do now. Whatever it is, some things are slight, but you need to know that because you're constantly developing. So then, therefore, you're able to say, you know what? I need validation because I am a human, but let me see how I can validate myself. So you know how I do that, Jay? I'll go back. If I'm feeling bad, I'll go look at my own bio. And I'll say, this is you. This is you. Okay. What's the problem? You need to be validated. You did this. You know what I mean? I know that sounds but it's really simple things that nobody teaches us what it is to how we can get from one point to another point so that we're not looking for people. And that's really what social media is all about. Social media is about validating me as a person and saying that I'm beautiful, I'm nice, I'm whatever, I'm this. I could talk about that for days, but it's done overabundance, and all the people that need the attention, it's like people are so starved. And it's because they have no clue who they are. They don't know themselves, so they don't know how to provide that particular need for themselves.
Yeah. I just was on a hike with my best friend in the world. We try and go on hikes just together, talking through things, life,
That's cool.
whatever. It's a wonderful experience he and I do. And on the hike, we talked about how the problem is people have their attention all out this way, one direction from in to out. And that's where their attention is always going. And they don't take the time to reverse that 180 degrees and have the attention go back in. And be able to take the inventory that you just described. And I think, Dr. G, it's never an exercise of I do it once and I never have to do it again. You said it perfectly. We are ever evolving. We've never stopped growing. We never stop learning. So this is something that we have to do continuously. I mean, how do you do it? Like, is this something like you do for yourself? Do you like lock yourself in a room and start asking questions? Do you do it once a quarter? Like, what's your way of doing it?
So, how I do it, it becomes a lifestyle. I do it every day, Jay, believe it or not, because you're constantly having human interactions. You're constantly having something to happen. So, just for instance, yesterday I went to a holiday celebration party. Well, some people and some different people that I know, I was watching some of the interactions. And so I'm always studying humans everywhere I go. People are so fascinating to me. And so as I'm watching and I'm looking and I'm taking note, then I have to ask myself, well, how does it make you feel? Do you feel a certain way? And if I do, why? What is it about what that person just did or said to the other person, how that affects me? Why do you feel any way about it? That's a constant check-in. I mean, and I do it automatically because I've been doing it for years, but I'm constantly, if I feel an emotion of some kind, I'm like, why do you feel bad? What's making you acknowledging that and pulling it to the forefront so then I can think to myself and go, you know what? You are just stressing over something that you can't control and has nothing to do with you. Like, mind your business.
I'm hearing you say this, and there's a tonality that's underlying it all, which is curiosity, which is playfulness,
Mhm.
even. Like,
Absolutely.
you're not saying it with judgment of yourself and frustration with yourself and anger with yourself. You even just started laughing as you were going through this little inner dialogue, which I think needs to be highlighted here, Dr. G, because I think too often people are like, I'm really hard on myself. Why are you thinking like that? Don't think like that. They're being so critical, or they're not doing it at all.
Yes.
But there is a middle ground here.
Yes, that balance that I was talking about. Yes, and I do so much with wit. And I am a light, fun person and I love to laugh. And so I talk to myself too. And so if anybody's around me, I say, listen, there's nothing wrong with me, but I'm talking to myself and I'm keeping myself in check. So I will say to myself, girl, what are you doing? Back up from. And so some of this is psychology, so I'm giving everybody the psychology. But when you can step outside of yourself and see yourself, that's a whole nother thing. And we call metacognition. That's when you're thinking about your thinking.
Mhm.
So I encourage people to think about your thinking. Why are you even thinking about that? What are you thinking about? And learn how to step outside of yourself and say to yourself, would you want to be bothered with somebody like you? Would you be a friend to somebody like you? Would the person like you annoy you? But you can only do that if you know how to separate and step outside and say to yourself, like me, girl, What are you saying that for? You don't need to, when you can do those check-ins. So mine is continually as I'm growing, and I say, you know what, that don't bother me no more. It used to, but I'm not bothered with it anymore because I regulated it. And it's called emotional regulation. And it's one of the things that I've created with the psychology of success. And it's one of the pillars in my methodology, how to regulate those emotions. And you do that by checking in and you have your mindset. And if your mindset wasn't right, it's really, Jay, listen, let me tell you something. Somebody sold us something that we ate and believed. You can change like that. You can actually change because you're in control of your mind and your thinking and your brain. You can stop yourself from being angry. People think it takes me some time. I need to sit. I need to process. I need to. All of that is fine and well and good. But I'm just telling you, our brains are powerful enough that if I said, I'm not going to be upset, I can switch that and not be upset.
Mm. It's a belief, right, Dr. G? It's a belief. Like if I believe that, oh, I can't fix this, or I'm so angry that it's going to take me so much time and I have to get into a different state, then you're going to be right because that's what you're telling yourself. And what you're saying is none of that's true. It's a story you're telling yourself. And if you just say in the moment, I'm deciding not to be angry here, your mind, your body will
It will respond
to that direction.
and it sounds so simple, but if you think about it, so you're in traffic. I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and it's lots and lots of traffic. Okay, traffic is one of our things, and so you tell yourself when you're driving, I'm not going to be angry, no matter what somebody does. They cut me off. Big deal. I'm not, or even if somebody did make you angry, you can stop it. You don't have to carry that because what happens is we set our own day. We really do. And I talk about this in the driver's seat because you're in the driver's seat of your life. Now, what I talk about is you can't control the detours and the exits and how the street is laid out when you're in a car. In your life, there's a lot of things going on that we can't control, but your choices and decisions and how you do it every day is up to you. So we set forth in motion. Oh, it's rainy today. Oh, it's going to be one of those days. People already told themselves, wonder what days? Because it's raining, drab outside, you got to be rainy and drab. You know what I'm saying? We set all of this stuff in motion. And sure enough, as soon as you get to work, somebody says, I told you, didn't it? And I want you. Your brain is already, so now your day, the coffee's gone, whatever it is that, and it just starts and you set yourself on this pattern. Now, does that mean if you tell yourself it's going to be a bright, bright, sunshiny day? That's one of my favorite songs. It's going to be, okay, you didn't ask me to sing, but one of those songs, that you say, it's going to be a bright, sunshiny day. Now, does that mean that the circumstance that you come to is all going to be bright and sunny? No. What it does mean is that you are saying, even if it's raining, I have an umbrella and I'm going to either dance in the rain or I'm going to get out of the rain or I'm going to, and you're not going to just be here just, oh my God. And so I try to help people really understand the power of their mind, and people don't get it. They don't get it.
Well, I think you said there, we've been told certain stories. There's certain things that people believe in society. Like, for example, I want to get your take on burnout because burnout's such a big deal in our society. We have so much change going on. Every industry, people are going to work. They don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. They have a lot of pressure on themselves, like Hannah here, right in the story. What are some of the things that are myths? Some of the things that like people just have wrong about burnout?
Yeah, this burnout is just, it's amazing. The latest stats from their Harvard Business Review says about 84%. 84%. Jay, you know what that leaves? Only 16% of the people saying they're not burned out. 84% of people say they have some type of burnout symptoms and they're experiencing that. First, let me tell you what burnout is. What it is in your mind and in your body. So burnout is because your brain is overwhelmed. I do so much with the cognitive processing and how our brain responds and reacts. So your brain is overwhelmed. When your brain gets overwhelmed, that means there's so much information, so much to do. It's not organized. It's like it's chaos. So, if you were to go somewhere in a room anywhere and it's just stuff everywhere, it's not organized. So this is what happens. So it's a lot going on and your brain is overstimulated and it's not organized in a fashion where you can feel like that you can manage it. So your brain is overwhelmed, then it affects your body. So your body gets overwhelmed. So it makes you tired. It makes your blood pressure rise. It makes you, less sleep. I can go on and list a whole lot of things that happen. Um, and so then you just feel like that I can't function anymore. I'm just done. So I'm burnt out. And a lot of people are quitting. A lot of, I started out as a school teacher. And so I'm always looking at the education arena and I'm seeing all these teachers that are quitting. And my youngest is school teacher. And she said, 5 years, I'm done. She said, this is my last year because I'm like, how did you burn out? Because it's overwhelming, because it's too much. And then now now it makes life and work not exciting. How do you fix that? That's the question. So let's start back with what I said was happening to your brain. You have to step into the driver's seat again. I'm using that analogy because I love it because everybody understands about driving. But you got to get in front of your life. What we so often do is we react to how life is. So you react to whatever's happening in a job and like and with Hannah, and I know I was, I went through another loss of a divorce. I was a single mother of 4 and things can just be chaotic. When you can get it organized in your brain, and I think of it as compartments. The compartment over here, this is work. What goes in that compartment? What is going in that drawer? Whatever it is that your projects, your colleagues, your boss, your whomever, all of this goes in a drawer over here in this compartment. You have your family. So what is that? Your kids, the school, the whatever. So for Hannah and anybody else out there that is trying to juggle all of these things, and then you're going to have your personal time. So personal things that you need to do for yourself, which everybody just puts aside, which is one of the most important compartments. But we think our job is the most important or the family or whatever. And then, of course, your personal relationships, be that if you're married, your partner, whomever. All of that is separate from the kids. You can't put everybody in the same compartment. There's compartments that we have to have in our lives. So now you got to get stuff organized because you got to take some of the stuff off your plate and say, what is taking up all of my time and energy? Guess what? For most people, it is in this job category. And for a lot of people, it's things I can't even control that they're stressing about, and their energy is being drained because it's stuff at work. They may be going through a merger. They may be afraid they're going to get laid off. They may be thinking the AI is coming and knocking on their door and going to take their job. Whatever it is. And all of those are legitimate. Understand, I'm not saying those are not legitimate concerns, but we put our energy and we stress over this. And all of that we can control. And it's like, okay, but then I got these projects, but then I have this. And so you're trying to do all of these things and and then a money shortage. Oh my goodness. We could talk about that all day. That adds on to that. So then all of that is going to affect in this family category. So now everything that the kids do, so that there's no structure here. And so you just feel like you're going from one to another. So you don't get the sleep, you don't get the rest, your body doesn't get to rejuvenate, you don't get to unwind, you don't get any of those things. So you start out with, instead of having a full glass of water, you're starting out half empty almost every day. So how are you going to function? So now you only have half of your energy, half of this. So your brain doesn't function in the way that it can and should. So you see how this ripple effect goes and this dominoes start falling down?
Absolutely. And I think oftentimes, Dr. G, it's the people who are really ambitious, the type A personalities, not to suggest that it's only
Yeah.
these individuals, but Hannah from the story is very much type A, go getter, drive. I get results. I am who everyone relies on. I take on the responsibility. And I have a sense, Dr. G, that you are also very driven. And I can tell, right, your whole life, you are someone who gets after it. How did you what are some ways you learned how to compartmentalize, slow down a bit that would be helpful advice for somebody like Hannah?
So what I did is I compartmentalized. I organized. I organized my life, and I am very structured. So time, I realized very early on, and that's one of the things I really work with my clients with is time. The element of time. You have to understand where your time is going. Every day, what creates in this whole world makes all of us on the same playing field is we all have 24 hours a day. The thing that makes us different and where we are, where we land differently is what we do with our time. So you gotta get control and understand where your time is going. So I understood where my time was going. So how much time am I able to spend over here working on my business, on my nonprofit, on my school, my kids, whatever it is? And how much time does all of this take? And so I could then put in this bucket and say, okay, because when statistics tells us that really mothers, I think, only spend like 23 minutes with their kids, and dads only spend like 7 minutes with their kids or something. The stats are real low.
Wow.
I mean, when I say intentional time,
Like present, like
present,
fully
not
present.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm helping you with your homework. Okay, you're eating. Okay, we're driving you here. No. If you don't schedule any of this stuff in your life, it's just not going to happen because we all are just reacting to time. I understood how important time was, and I understood how to organize it so that I could teach my children that when you go and you're only going to be able to sign up for two different events, you can't possibly be good at all of these things that we have our kids in because we want to have them, and it sounds just that, for instance. It's like, okay, you're only going to be able to do two different things, and if it fits into my schedule, not their schedule. So it's things like that I had to understand how to organize. Getting a time that you wake up, the time, everything was about time. It is the foundation to success, and people have to get that. Understood that you are in control of your time. You know how much time you're going to spend at work. You know how much time you're going to spend commuting, or if you have to go in the office or not, or whatever. Okay, now you got to work everything around that because you have to work. So now you get to choose what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. That's what, for Hannah and anybody out there that is needing that structure, and you just feel like, oh, I just can't do it. This is too much. It's a lot. And then what that does, it works on your mental and emotional wellness. It's going to
Dr. G, I'm so glad that you went there. This is something I'm really passionate about, because if you don't organize your time, the world's going to organize it for you. And guess what? It's not going to be very organized, right? Like, think of it like this, okay? Go back even 50 years. Even if you didn't have that kind of structure in place, the likelihood of someone pulling your attention was much lower than it is in today's world. In today's world, your attention is being reached for all the time from your cell phones, your emails, your tablets. And when I hear people say, Jay, my day goes by and I felt like I didn't get anything done, it's because they allowed for everyone else to determine how they spend their time. They didn't have the same structures that you're referring to.
Absolutely. You are so on point. They allowed everybody else to dictate. What people are doing, they're just reacting to life instead of planning out their life. So if you don't get anything done, it's because you hadn't planned to get anything done. It's just
Right. I get blown away, Dr. G, because I think that at times I'm not the best with my cell phone. But then when I see how other people are behaving in their relationship with their cell phone, it actually makes me feel pretty good. Like I'm doing okay. And I don't mean that to sound superior to anybody. I genuinely think that I've built some guardrails in for how my attention gets pulled by text messages or emails. And when I see people have absolutely no rails, it then doesn't surprise me that burnout is at such a high percentage, like you referenced before.
absolutely. And I'm telling you, Jay, if I could, so Hannah or anybody, I do this activity and I look at people's life in a week at a glance. And I can tell you exactly what's happening, what's going on. And it's like, okay, you know how back in the day when we used to have a check registry and we had to write checks and then, you could have an accountant look at your checkbook and see where all your checks were. Now you just look at your bank statement and you could tell what kind of hand spending habits and whatever the people may need to do and what they need to cut off. I do that with a time chart. And I'm like, and when people see their life in a week and every hour where they spent, you could just see, oh my God, what am I doing in my life? I'm wasting. Not that you can't talk to a friend for an hour on the phone. If that was your plan, go for it. You need to connect. But we just end up reacting and responding, and you go like, where did the time go? What happened? I was supposed to get this done. So then when you go to sleep at night, you have all this stuff on your mind and you can't sleep because you feel like you didn't get anything done, or you're worried about what you need to do for the next day. You don't get the rest, you don't get to sleep, so you wake up starting with half full, and now you started. So your brain doesn't even know what to do because we tell it. We get to say, this is what you're going to do. This is what I'm thinking. This is what you're telling yourself. I can't do this. So your brain is saying, okay, you can't. You
Yeah.
told me you couldn't do it, so we can't do it.
Right. What that audit that you were referring to there, show me how you're spending your time and I will tell you what you deem the most important in your life. And when you do that work and you realize you're deeming what's most important, scrolling on Instagram or reacting to other people's needs via email or Slack or Teams, you're deeming that is more important than whatever it is that you wish to deem important. It becomes very black and white at that point.
It does. But who does that? Have you ever done a time audit? People,
I have, only because I've had the honor of speaking to great, smart people like
okay,
you who told me to.
I know, but most people, it's like, I got to do this. Yes, this is one of your assignments. This is what you need to do. We're going to come back and look at it. And then people look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, what do you think about this? Well, I'm not really getting anything done. I'm watching a lot of TV, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or I'm doing so much for everybody else. You can't possibly continue to function like that. So when we work with companies, it's like helping people to understand, this whole burnout, and it's really happening now. I mean, at a higher level, I think, since the pandemic. It, it, it just really, that reset all of our minds. But people haven't known what to do with that. And since we back, now it was that adjustment that nobody was really ready for, or was taught how to readjust back to a normal life, meaning that it's either work or not, or remote or hybrid or whatever now that's happening, which I think that, people needed to be around people and people are like, no, we're going to just work at home. It's so much, Jay. I'm telling you, I have so many areas that I just want to fix about the whole world. And I know I
Yeah.
can't do it all.
Well, all we can ever do is keep putting these messages out to the world as
Absolutely.
best we can, taking the knowledge that you've gathered over the years, Dr. G, and sharing it with the world with hopes that it reaches even just a select few people, right? Of course,
Yes.
hopefully more.
Yes.
And that is a huge contribution to the world. And I want to invite you to imagine, Dr. G, that you were to meet Hannah in this story. Let's say you came in and you did some consulting for her organization, and on the side, she tells you her story one day, and what she's going through as a single mom, and how it's really frustrating her, and how she feels like she's on the path to burnout. And you listen, you acknowledge what she's going through, and you want to ask her something to evoke a new perspective or way of thinking. What would you ask her, Dr. G, and why?
It's a really simple question, but it would evoke so much. I would say, Hannah, look at me. How are you doing? That's what I would say. How are you doing?
Mm.
She probably would start crying. Oh my God. Because Hannah hasn't thought about how she's doing. Everything else was important. I mean, really, the intro, like we were talking about, the introspective, the person, when you can separate yourself and look and say, how are you doing? So, because nobody's asking that, because, you're in all and be all. That's what I would start out with.
I love that. And it's not the how are you question. That's the casual how are you. Just the way you're asking it is, no, really.
How are you doing?
How are you doing? And that space that you're creating begins the process of that self-reflection.
It opens up the doors, and she would just probably like, oh my God. It would just...
No one's asking her, right?
No one's asking her. Because, even when we say, oh, how are you doing? And people say, oh, I'm okay. Most of the time, you don't even hear what they say. And if somebody said, oh, I'm not okay, what are you going to say then? It's like, oh, what's wrong? It's like, oh, you didn't take some medicine. You got a headache. We got these quick fixes. Whenever I've asked somebody, how are you? It's saying, when I was talking about the human needs that we have, I want to be seen. I want to feel important. I want you to validate that I am here. It's saying all of that in one question. How are you doing? I see you and I want to know. I feel you. I want to know. How are you? That right there. And then I would take it whatever direction, because we can fix all this other stuff easier, because it's organizing. It's putting it in buckets. It's the emotional and mental that's going to take the work. To say, okay, we got to shift the mind. We're going to have to get here. Let me help you to feel better first, so that you know how to move forward. So yeah, that's the real work. The others is really just the task of organization and knowing how to do this. This up here, yeah.
But you acknowledge the human side first,
the human
which
side
I appreciate.
Always.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's, I think, how people actually transform, and they open up even to the ideas that you're going to share with them. So, Dr. G, I'm so glad we carved out the time to connect, and for anyone listening to learn more about the amazing work that Dr. G is doing. And I know you have so much going on. They can check out the website. It's drgladney.com. That's drgladney.com. And from there, of course, I know you're very active on social media. People can find you there, follow you through those platforms. Again, Dr. G, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me.
Thank you for having me. As you see, we could be talking all day, because there's a lot to talk about, Jay. So thank you for inviting me so I can share my message and help anybody. Please just reach out to me should you need help, consulting, anything, speaking, whatever, coaching. I'm here to do it.
Dr. G was someone who I felt like I could have spoken to for hours, because there are layers and layers of things, different avenues we could have went down in that conversation. She even says, like, I can talk about this one thing and another thing, and that's really exciting. So, Dr. G, if you're listening, you may have to do it again so we can talk about more topics. I will do my best to synthesize it down into 3 insights and 3 actionable takeaways. The first insight: you're in the driver's seat. As you're driving a car, there are going to be certain things that are outside of your control. You can't control the weather, if there's a detour, there's an accident. What you can control is what's happening within the car. Your attitude, how you respond to things. That is up to you. Second insight, think about your thinking. Think about how you think. The term she uses, metacognition. To be able to self-reflect, take inventory, to notice your thought patterns. It's like you're stepping outside of yourself. And in doing this, you learn how to regulate your emotions. You notice what triggers you and you can get curious. Why did that trigger me? Why is that having an impact on me? Third insight, burnout is caused when the brain is overwhelmed. How we work through that overwhelm is to compartmentalize, to have organization, to have structure, so it doesn't feel like there's so much pressure coming in all at once. Actionable takeaways, first of 3. 1, believe you can change. She said, you can change it like that. If you believe you can, if you tell yourself, I'm not going to get angry here, then you won't. It sounds simple, but that's how it is. If you believe it, if you don't believe it, if you overcomplicate it, then you can't change like that. So it starts with you. Believe that you can change. Second, actionable takeaway. Take inventory of your time. How are you spending your time? What does your day look like? Are you aware of that? Are you willing to do the thing that very few people do, which is to audit their time? I promise you, if you do, you'll gain some incredible insights into what you're deeming important. And it will then lead you to the third actionable takeaway, which is plan out your life. Stop reacting to life. Make a plan. Schedule it. If it's scheduled, then it happens. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. And on Friday, this is what I'm going to do a deeper dive into. I think Dr. G presented a really strong argument around the value of planning out your schedule. And I'm going to show you how I organize my time, how I schedule things, how I plan my life. And while that's just one way, my way may not work. So I'm going to also give you some insights into how I've seen other people do it. And when I've coached leaders, how they went about organizing their time. So you have a few different strategies to choose from. So that way you can plan out your life rather than be constantly reacting to life. So join us on Friday for that episode. And until next time, thank you so much for listening.